Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? Bum, bum, bum. Can you hear me all right? Let me know in the chat. I'm just going to get things set up. Yep. How's it going, John? Saucy? Puzzle-headed? I am going to be using FreeCam, yes. Welcome back, Naxergs. Tenko. Oh, this story blows. Yeah, let's play Fortnite. Play Fortnite instead. Um, Woland? Or Voland? Welcome back. Young Scum, Titan, Sharbo, Tevin, Flugga. Welcome everyone. Well, it's been a little while. Um, I actually have not touched Elden Ring since the summer, since playing through the DLC a couple times. Um, Basically when there was this big build up, it was basically a 4 year build up, just building up to Elden Ring. Actually, in a way, it's kind of like a 6 year build up. Just I guess whenever Ring City came out, just the slow build up to Elden Ring getting released. The original hype trailer, and then Elden Ring getting released, and then the DLC, and so then just I think completing it, I kind of I really liked the DLC, and I liked all the lore and stuff, and but for some reason it just felt like suddenly everything deflated. So I needed some time off before really looking at it carefully. So now I'm back. I decided to create a character named Sherlock Bones. Um, the reason being, I want to do some detective work, and also it's Halloween time, so it's the perfect combo. I tried to make him look like a skeleton at first, but that didn't really work. So I ended up making him look like the Witch King of Angmar, which I'm also happy with. Um, so just gotta pick out the origin. I'm not really sure what kind of character I want to make. I feel like I've done just about every permutation out there. So I feel like this is appropriately gothic looking. I'll just pick Confessor. It's got the best drip. And Bewitching Branch. I guess I could just go over all of these again because it's been a while. So let's see. Knight exiled from their homeland to wander, solid armor-clad origin. Yeah, nothing there. Nomad warrior. There's a. It's kind of interesting. He's called a nomad, because this is obviously based off of the blue, the what is it, the swordsman, that taught Melania, thematically connected to that. So the idea of a nomad is, thematically connects with flowing water. This idea of flowing water. Um, you don't stop in one place. You just keep on going, and that I think helps inform Melania's sort of character development. Um, I don't know if there's any significance to having two blades. However, I'm trying to think. The Melania's um, daughters, or offshoots or whatever, they all just have one weapon each, right? Do any of them have two? I can't remember that. Descended from a Badlands chieftain, probably either Horaloo himself um, or just someone from the Badlands. And the Badlands are definitely the mountaintops of the giants. There's a very clear connection there, which we can go into, but I'll have to remember the exact item descriptions. But I think that's pretty explicit. Badlands normally, I think, conveys an image of, I don't know, something like Arizona, but I think that word, when you look at the Japanese, it's just like the barbarian lands, so it doesn't have that kind of flavor of like a deserty kind of area. And the other word used there is highlands, which is definitely referring to the mountaintops. Ba, ba, ba. You should get a mod where Bach walks around with you and rename him to Watson, and whenever he tries speaking, you should beat him up for being ugly. Oh my god, if that mod existed, I would totally get it. Um, Badlands equals mountaintops and Kaled when they were connected at some point, in my opinion. That's possible. It definitely seems like they were connected. I think that's pretty clear. I I don't know with the Highlands Badlands thing. It's much more clear because I think you have like is it the fire flower thing? I can't remember what it's called. One of the crafting items, which you find only in the mountaintops, says that it grows in the highlands, or maybe it's the rhymed roa. It might be that one. Says that it grows in like the frigid highlands. And then you have the Highland axe, which is found under the painting of Godfrey, and it's of the same design as the Great Axe, which says that it's from the Badlands. So they're all equivalent. Maybe there's a connection specifically with Kaled, although I don't see it as clearly. Beyond, I mean, there's clearly a connection between the mountaintops and Kaled, but as far as like the barbarian culture in Kaled, I don't see that as clearly. There's also stuff. I mean, I think to me it seems fairly uncontroversial, although I guess this is a bit of a leap, that the barbarians are descended from giants, because you get all the connections with the Kaiden cell swords, and they're clearly descended from giants. You have the Northerner class, which says, well, some say they're descended from giants. The Unforgiving North, and I think that seems pretty clear. So in any case, so we've got hero, we've got bandit, no real flavor text there. Astrologer, a scholar who reads fate in the stars. Heir to the school of glintstone sorcery. I never really figured out. I should call on Last Protagonist again because there's like those two descriptions that kind of seem to contradict each other. It says that like the astrologers are the heirs to the school of glintstone sorcery, but then also the glintstone sorcerers are descended from astrologers. Which I guess technically doesn't need to be a contradiction, because you could just have, if they're both continuous lines, then one could be descended from one and the other could also be descended from the previous one, and so on. It is interesting that they read fate in the stars. I mean, we know that the stars guide fate, but it's interesting that like that is the purpose of an astrologer, is to read fate in the stars. Like, why would you need to read fate? Why do you want to know fate? It's like a spiral. Yeah, that's one way to sort of rectify that. But I think there is a translation thing there. I'm not remembering clearly. regarding the astrologers and glintstone sorcerers. Prophet, a seer ostracized for inauspicious prophecies. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing also because the prophecies are, they're not just imagined, right? So they are connecting to some kind of fate. So they're kind of doing something similar to what the astrologers are doing. The point of astrologers is to read fate in the stars. Then you have prophets who see the future as well. But this is rejected. So presumably there's a little bit of a dichotomy there in that the astrologers, like that is their purpose. So that's good if they read fate according to them. Whereas for the prophets, this is something, maybe they don't even try. Maybe it's just something that's sort of inflicted upon them, that they happen to see the future. And then when they do, that's considered bad because this religion doesn't want anything to end. And of course, if you see the future, everything is impermanent, everything ends. So that's what you're going to see. Capable fighter from the distant land of reeds. And that always brings up the point of, what exactly is the lands between? Are we in like a real place? If you built a ship and like sailed west, like would you reach another island? And what goes on there? Is it still governed by the Erd Tree? Does the Greater Will have an effect there? Is there a planet? All of that, all of those kinds of questions. The astrologer flavor text doesn't say that they are heirs to the school of glintstone sorceries in Japanese. It just says that they inherit glintstone sorcery, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay. I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference. I mean, with the founding reign of stars, right? The idea is that this initial person, who in 1.0 was called Goliath, uh, envisioned this reign of stars on the land, and then it became real, and then that is glintstone sorcery. So, it's kind of, they're just kind of equivalent things. Being an astrologer, because if you envision stars falling, then that makes the stars fall, and then that's how you do glintstone sorcery. So it's kind of just the same thing. Prisoner bound in an iron mask, studied in glintstone sorcery, having lived among the elite prior to sentencing. Which is interesting. A whole cascade of thoughts just came into my head at that moment. But I guess the thing that makes it interesting is the fact that elites are the ones who do glintstone sorcery. And of course, you see all the wandering nobles. There's always like a sorcerer among them. They all kind of suck, but that brings up questions of like, well, you have the Carian royal family, and so there's a royal family there, but then you have America and her royal family, and with Radigan's marriage to Renala, that sort of got brought into the Golden Order, but prior to that, it seems like they were kind of anti-sorcerer. So, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I think it's just interesting that glintstone sorcery and thus astrology and the fate written in the stars is connected with nobles of some description here. The prisoner mask is interesting because one eye is closed like almost every demigod. That is interesting. I forgot, after I made my Godefroy video, I meant to check that out because I was looking at their faces to see if there was any slight discrepancy between the two. Um, and I did notice that, like, oh yeah, it's not completely closed, but it's sort of it's like the left eye is always weaker. And I remember there was a few others. There's a video on that. If you're in the Discord, why don't you post that in the appropriate channel? Because I will check that out if someone reminds me. Um, Confessor, a church spy, adept at covert operations. Equally adept with the sword as they are with their incantations. Interesting that the church needs spies. Why would they need spies exactly? Hold on, I gotta adjust my mic. That's a little too high now. Yeah, why do they need spies? What are they getting up to? I mean, I guess just hunting tarnished. Hmm. It is interesting that basically every faction in the game has their own sort of group of assassins. Because you've got the confessors for the two fingers, you've got the Black Knife assassins, you've got the formless serpents who don't really exist but they're mentioned. You've got who else? There's a bunch of them. Um, I'm not remembering, but there's a whole bunch of different assassin groups, which I guess makes sense if you're looking at it through the lens of um, political power struggle. Oh yeah, the Sellians, right? So there's all these different groups of assassins, but it would be interesting. Oh, the Blades of Night, yeah. So it's curious that I guess this doesn't say that they're assassins, but they definitely are. Every nation has its own intel agency. True. A poor, purposeless sod, naked as the day they were born. Well, with a loincloth. Wow, really no ass to speak of. It's amazingly flat. Let's just quick look at these. Okay, most common face among the tarnished. They were all warriors once. So that's the face of a warrior, apparently. The face of an austere pilgrim. There are many roads to truth. Yes. Interesting. A regal face, found among those who claim noble blood in the lands between. And I think there is a little bit of attention to detail in that the nose. I don't know how to describe noses. There's like Roman noses and stuff like that. Is that a Roman nose? But that nose is very similar to America's statue nose. So I think there was a little bit of attention to detail there. But again, you claim noble blood, and yet brown hair, and we already had this affiliation of nobles and glintstone sorcery. So that's kind of interesting. Roman/Greek nose, yes. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, it's kind of Greek statuesque. Hi, Cecilia. Welcome back. Face found among a proud. Do you prefer Cecilia or Cecilia? 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 I'm not sure. Forget feet, we're on noses now? That's right. No, this isn't male pattern baldness. It's the austere appearance of nobility. Yeah, exactly. Face found among a proud and seclusive tribe of folk, well versed in ancient legends and heresies alike. Don't really know. Cecilia, okay. Don't really know if there's any counterpart for this in the game. He does have very blue eyes. Got it. Didn't really look at the eye color here. That's sort of hazel brown. Wait, hazel? I always get mixed up what color hazel is. These are basically just brown. No gold in the eyes because we're all tarnished. But there's a little bit of sort of faded gold, I suppose, because of the noble blood. But that bright sort of teal, I wonder what that's referring to. That's kind of it's close to Ronnie's eye color, I suppose. Also bluish, pretty much the same, maybe a little lighter here, more faded. Face found among the hardy people of the unforgiving north. Some say they're descended from giants, which I would say is probably true. The face of one who wanders the seas in search of their home in the lands between. That's interesting. So it does seem like the lands between is something that you can actually, well, I suppose it doesn't say whether his quest is a fruitful one, but it would suggest that you can arrive in the lands between by boat. Lots of seaman imagery around Godfrey. Yes, that's true. There's all the picture where he steps in the water and the blue cape and all of that, and the sort of weird tentacly looking things on his axe. And then of course Godwin. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't let that one slide, John. A face from the faraway, isolated land of reeds where blood is a familiar sight. Not a very strong jawline, I have to say. The stony face of the people of the ancient dragons, among whom life is typically short. If I recall, Zuli had a video on I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was just face data. I don't know if it was connected with anything in particular. It was just some random face data. It kind of looked like the Draconians, except they had these weird, like, gold tattoos. Mads Mikkelsen, yeah. I'm going to have to look that one up again and remember what that was about. But they sort of look like the Draconians, if I remember that. The stony face. The people of the ancient dragons is an interesting way to put it. We do know that, for example, Lanciax took human form. And what's her name? Florisax also, well, she took a humanoid form. I don't know if that's the same thing as what Lanciax did or not. Oh, but yeah, it is interesting. Life is typically short versus the Newman are long-lived. Supposed descendants of denizens of another world. Another world, and if I remember correctly, the Japanese there could be read as like the underworld or the spirit world or something like that, although it's fairly vague and ambiguous. But another world is interesting. because I am definitely concerned with. Well, actually, before we continue, let me just set this up. Let's see. So I do have these things to take notes. So the major question for me is, what is the nature of the world? That's sort of the big one. And then I think I'm not going to put absolutely every question I want to answer, but sort of the big questions. The point of this is just to keep me focused, I think, on the right questions to ask, so I don't get dragged into some of the rabbit holes that I can get dragged into. Anyway, so I am interested in that. Um, Yolan and Anna, one is dark and one is light, might relate to Newman contra Knox. That's an interesting thing. I haven't really looked carefully at like the characters in the DLC, so I should do that. I'll probably do a whole like going through Zlofsky's pictures at some point and just kind of look at them carefully. Maybe I'll do that on stream. That might be fun. Um, and then we have the Night Folk. Few in number, they were said to bleed silver long ago, and I think the only other reference to them is the Urumi. This guy looks like a young Ansbach. It's Joffrey. Um, oh, the Newman. Oh, interesting. Yeah, again, I don't really remember the faces of uh of the DLC characters, so you may be right about that. Okay, and then so we looked through all of those. Then the keepsakes. Medallion inlaid with crimson amber. Nothing really there. Lands Between rune, the gold of grace shining in the eyes of the people of the lands between. Um, well, yeah, there's nothing much to say about that, I suppose, at this point. A golden seed washed ashore from the lands between. How did I never notice that? So that does suggest the Erdtree seeds, right? Because the seeds, they were shaken from the tree when the Elden Ring was shattered. So then some of those seeds, fell in the ocean, and then they washed up on other lands. So that would also suggest a physical relationship between the lands between and other places. That's also kind of interesting though, because then you have a kind of uh, it's like releasing its spores out into the world. And one might wonder if that is intentional. I mean, in evolution, you know, trees and plants and things like this, they develop different ways of spreading seeds. Some of them rely on insects to carry the seeds around, or birds. Some of them, I mean, like some of these what are they, redwoods and things up in the Pacific Northwest, they only release their seeds. They've got very hard outer casings that only sort of crack open with enough heat. So it's sort of a adaptation to the fires that commonly occur there. So I wonder if golden seeds are washing up on other lands, and maybe those could become new Erdtrees, then maybe the event which led to the golden seeds flying from the Erdtree in the first place is beneficial to the Erdtree. It's part of its function. Well, anyway. Banged Imp. Ashes of small diminutive golems. Ashes are said to hold spirits within. And I'm sure we'll get into the whole spirits and souls and all of that stuff because the spirits. Well, I'll just keep it now to. It's interesting that you burn something, you burn it, the corpse, and the spirits are held within the ashes because we do have things like Ghost Flame where it seems to release the spirits. Well, maybe that's the same process, maybe it's not, maybe something has changed. But anyway, that's interesting. Cracked pots. Nothing really there. Stone sword key. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I guess you could ask the question, why did someone build all these weird gargoyle statues that you have to open with stone sword keys? I don't know if there's really a relevant lore explanation for that. Mikla. Well, we've been all over that. Boiled prawn. Shabriri's woe. Yeah, okay. I think I'll stick with just getting some easy runes to begin with. Do I want to stick with Confessor? Which would be the most detective-y? I want to be very detective-y this playthrough. Maybe Astrologer. Maybe Prophet. Um... Hmm. Maybe Prisoner. I only recently noticed the Clean Rock Crest is a flower releasing spores and not a tree, speaking of. Ah, interesting. That's very Dark Souls First Flame, to be honest. You kindle yourself to sacrifice your autonomy into some kind of collective will slash persona. I'm not sure that I totally follow that thread. Maybe if you want to expand on that. Um, where would Sherlock Bones? Where would he come from? He's not a vagabond. He's not a warrior. Not a hero. Could be a bandit. Not an astrologer. Maybe a prophet. Maybe a prisoner. Imprisoned by this trap that Miyazaki has set for us. I like all the little decals. It sort of suggests that, like, he was banging his head against something to try and break the mask off. It's kind of neat. All right, let's go with Prisoner. I'll elaborate later, but it's like how the one great becomes whole by melting everything into one being or whatever. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious to follow up on that. All right, let's start. Oh, and tell me if you want the game audio to be turned up. The fallen leaves. So the Erd tree is dying. And that is equivalent to the Elden Ring being shattered. That's the instigating factor. There is no game audio? Oh, I'm so dumb. Hold on. There we go. It's very quiet for me, actually, so maybe I need to adjust the in-game settings.
To be found. And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish.
First. Not the only one.
Soon,
Marika's offspring, and there's a picture of Ronnie.
claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound strength triggered the shattering. A war from which no lord arose.
Is that Ronnie or the Snowy
A
Crone?
war
I mean,
leading to abandonment.
it would be weird if it was the Snowy Crone,
Greater.
because he's talking about Marika's offspring and the demigods, and...
Oh,
Whoa!
now, ye tarnished, ye dead.
Where is this place?
The call of long lost grace speaks to us all. Horaloo, chieftain of
Not
the
in the lands
Badlands,
between. Yeah.
the ever brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion. The loathsome dung eater. And Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. And one other, whom grace would again bless.
Sherlock Bones himself.
Tarnished of no renown. Cross the fog to the lands between. To stand before the Elden Ring.
So where is this?
And become the Elden Lord.
I picked the stinky prisoner. Yeah, that's right. Oh, do I not have HUD? I do think I would do want HUD. Guess we'll keep it on auto. Oh yeah. Let's see if that's a little bit louder then. Just quick see if this is... No, not keyboard. What? Where's the... Okay, that's what I wanted. Finally, I can take off this mask. Let my lovely, luxurious hair flow in the breeze. And... So, let's see. So we're at this random church. That's pretty weird. We somehow got here by seeing the light of grace. I guess let's start by reading all of these. So, the memory of first grace, which once guided bygone tarnished to the lands between. It's a memory. There is something interesting going on with memories. But I think, as I've mentioned before, the most interesting thing about this to me is the fact that it looks like the reflection of sunlight on the water, which is also, you can see, is actually the background of this menu at the bottom of the screen. You can see that is um, makes a lot of sense, and of course that is kind of what you see in the Elden Beast arena. So there is something about that, the reflection of light on the water. Glintstone staff, nothing too interesting there. A stock. Of course, the Rift Shield is very interesting. Which looks like kind of like the Everjail rifts. And of course, in that original leaked footage or leaked trailer for Elden Ring, the narrator called it the Riftlands instead of the Lands Between. So, sort of points against the Lands Between being something sort of physically accessible. Although, of course, it could be both, in the way that, for example, in like the Norse myths, the gods, physically travel from Asgard to Midgard or whatever, wherever they're going. But these realms are also kind of, you know, they're there's something more supernatural dividing them. It's not just like another country, even though you can walk there. Um, Places like the Eye of the World and the Wheel of Time. I've never read the Wheel of Time series. I've been recommended that many times. There's an antiquated charm that glares back at an enemy, which is also interesting. It boosts focus, which is responsible for. What does focus deal with again? That is sleep and madness. Raises your resistance to sleep and madness, which is an interesting dichotomy because that's kind of the Saint Trina frenzy thing. Forced on a prisoner convicted of an appalling crime. I wonder what the crime was. In whatever culture. Also, kind of interesting because then, if I'm coming from outside the Lands Between, then glintstone sorcery is something that is not local to the Lands Between. And neither is glintstone sorcery's affiliation with nobility. So, be interesting to think about, well, in that culture, something, like the Carrion family, I was some aristocrat convicted of a crime. What crime would they convict you of? If all we know about that culture is that they have, some kind of caste system or feudal system, and they are also, uh, into glintstone sorcery, which is related to astrology, then they read the fate in the stars. So I wonder what could be the crime that offends that particular culture. Basically, that a place you can walk into and appears when needed, but it's not in this plane of existence, like Ogidja Island in Greek mythos. I don't know that island, actually. Just so you know, John, I don't necessarily always respond to your comments, but they do always make me chuckle. Um, okay, nothing really there. The smell is beyond belief. Oh, I really am stinky. Old sorcery of the Carrion royal family. So specifically the Carrions. So the Carrions have a presence outside the lands between. I mean, that is what that would imply. So what crime would offend a Carrion culture? Said to be the prototype of the sword phalanx sorceries wielded by royal enchanted knights. Fair enough. No grace resides in the eyes of the tarnished. If it ever did, it is now lost. I like how they just put that in there, if it ever did, just to make you question everything. Okay, so that's everything for now. I don't need any of these things. That's fine. Anything else that I need to look at? No. So let's get going. Tarnished wizened finger. Okay, I will do that. So you write messages to other worlds, possibly other worlds like in the same way that the Newman are descendants of denizens from another world. That's an interesting concept to think about. Finger of corpse wax. So emaciated, the bone is visible. So I wonder, a finger, well, I mean, okay, a finger writing messages, but when you write a message, it's sort of this thing of runes of light. Actually, is that the script that like the two fingers use? I think it is. So you're writing messages of light that transcend the boundaries of this world with a finger which is dead. It's a corpse wax finger. So death, light, transcending the boundaries between worlds. Some connection there. Okay. I didn't really remark upon this statue too much, but I don't know if there's that much going on there. It seems to be, could be America, could be some, well, it does have the America nose, as far as I can tell. It's a bit hard to see from here. That would make the most sense, I suppose. Anything interesting about the architecture? Well abandoned. Those types of windows are the things that you find in places like the what is it called? The Turtle Church, the Church of Manicelas. Notice how the cloak she is wearing is similar to the cloaks in the statues carrying the body in Enim Elir. I will take your word for that, because I don't remember that. So, a lot of books here. There was once, this was once used as presumably a church. There aren't really pews, it's just chairs. But it seems like someone used this. But has long since been abandoned. There's really an eye for detail in that. Well, I suppose there's also some, I was just thinking, like, you see the hole in the ceiling, and then you've got a bunch of broken planks, but they're only on this side because that's where the hole is. They're not just like laid randomly around the room. I suppose there's a couple back here, which is a little bit further back, but yeah, it's nice. Okay, we've got a tree on the door, as we'll see many times. It's pretty well faded. Chapel of Anticipation. Anticipation. You know what? I don't know if this is a term that always struck me as some religious term. I don't know if that is. It just sounds like it. Like you know, prepare for your anticipation into the church or something like that. It sounds like some religious term, but I do like that it kind of has a double meaning because when we first started playing the game, it's like, oh damn, yes, I am anticipating this. We've got some little relief up there. Well, maybe I best save further exploration of this area until I get the telescope. Oh, wait, I forgot. I have free cam. Boom. Let's look at this close. So there's a woman with an urn or a vase. And that also looks like a woman next to her. In fact, these are all maidens of various types. Some random like little cherubs on the side. So this seems to be some ceremony. This is like the person running the ceremony. This is the person holding the sacred urn. And then this is the person, receiving some kind of blessing or perhaps being brought into kind of service. Okay, that's interesting. Let's just quick look at this statue again. Yeah, that actually doesn't look that much like America now. But possibly. Possibly. Holding out the hand. Clearly the same person as depicted on this relief. Or the same, the same type of person at least. Some kind of religious ceremony of possibly being brought into some kind of service. That's what I would guess. Wearing a hood. The others are not wearing hoods. And she's got the hand out. Actually, what's going on there? Are those two hands? Yeah, she's got a similar kind of positioning with that hand out, palm down. So I would say this is meant to convey the same idea. This is a church used for a very specific purpose. Either some kind of blessing or initiation. That's the word I was thinking of. Oh, thank you, Jose, for the information about Calypso. I vaguely remember the thing about Calypso now. They're like 6 cloaked figures carrying a body, like a funeral ceremony. Okay, well, we'll get to that. Probably not anytime soon, but if you're around on that stream whenever that happens, then you can remind me of that. I could imagine before Godric corrupted, he may have anticipated the tarnished return. He is obsessed with his lineage, after all. But then he ends up preying on the tarnished. Nefeli calls them tainted, and I think it's why the chapel is standing on a tall cliff deteriorating, with Stormvale meeting the same fate down the road. Reminds me of the room in Renala's dungeon where you pick up the talisman in front of the ghost. There's a Tarnished Archaeologist video talking about how this might be pre-America symbology, the woman with the vase that America appropriated. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. It may not necessarily be that she appropriated it. It may be also that she was involved in it. That this was just an early version of what was going on. I think if we accept that this chapel is at least reformed to anticipate Tarnish's comeback, we must acknowledge that the woman depicted is America. Well, given that this whole beginning is a bit of a late change, because I think the initial beginning makes a lot more sense with you washing up on the shores. Tutorial areas are very often the very last thing that are built because it's only once you've completed developing the game that you know exactly what you want to teach the player. So I would just sort of raise an eyebrow as to whether this is really meant to be anticipating the Tarnished return or not, or the question of why exactly we start here. I don't think it was the network test. I think it was before that. I believe it was Zuli that did a video on it, although it may have been Sekiro Doobie. So I think clearly this is connected with Stormvale. But the purpose of it now, I don't know. I mean, it's clearly not, used frequently enough that there are people standing guard or maintaining the place or anything like that. So it's been well out of use, whatever its purpose was. Now that could be anticipating the return of the Tarnished. It could be that we're just the very latest, and there haven't been many that have returned recently. I wouldn't jump to any conclusions about it, but I would say at least originally, it seems like the function was for some very specific sort of rite, which is either, I mean, judging by the all female cast here, I would guess that it's some kind of initiation ritual. I don't know why. That just seems more likely. It's not the sort of like religious figure blessing the poor, the tired, and it doesn't seem to be something like that. That doesn't. It's not what it looks like to me. I would hazard a guess that this is some kind of initiation ritual, that this kneeling woman is going to become part of whatever this order of women is. Let's take a look at some other details. We got a lot of floral designs, very common. Anything else to look at here? We have a little bit of those thorns, so definitely connected to Stormvale. And, of course, the line banner, so that would also connect with it. Let's take a look at these giant statues. Anything up here? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna I haven't even been recording this, so I'm gonna record everything. Tell me if that tanks the video quality at all. Damn, the Erd tree looks good. that's so cool. Right, we will eventually get to that. So we'll come back here. Oh, that is ruining the frame rate for me. Oh, no, 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 I can't play like that. Okay, I'll just record when I need to. So, this guy. Tree Sentinel Helm. Very stoic face. And it's always interesting. There's definitely something meant to be communicated here with this, stone statues and then the gold vines, that it almost seems parasitic. And the spear and the vines are kind of, it's like they're one. I would hazard a guess that this is similar to the kinds of weapons that you see embedded in the round table, where they're sort of rooty and tree-like, as if they were grown rather than forged. Because you already have all this leaf vine designs on the cloak, but then specifically this gold stuff, it seems like strangling him, or not strangling, but it seems sort of parasitic. Let's see. And then we have maybe America, maybe someone else. Again with this urn. Definitely a classic type of image. The maiden with, it's similar to like a cornucopia or something. It's the bounty, but I think possibly the urn may have a death connection as well. Well, we'll see it again. We've got some eagles, so that lines up with the Stormveil aesthetic. We've got some lions. Lions around the base of, well, maybe that's a tree, maybe it's just stylization. Some weird thingy over here. What is that? Maybe just another type of lion? Oh, welcome, Bill, and no problem. Watch at your leisure, or don't. Let's see, anything else to look at here? There's that woman again, more lions, the eagles. Interesting that the eagles are made out of a different material, like they've been added on. Because like the lions, these are reliefs, they're just engraved into the stone, but the eagles are, what are these, copper or something? Or maybe that's just moss. So they're like maybe not a later edition, could just be different material, maybe just to make it stand out visually. But okay. Anything down here? Lion head. More. Well, there's those faces again. That's probably like the Crucible or something. you know, life springing out. It also could just be designs. Pretty designs. I can't imagine how many designs they had to generate. Like, oh my god. Just the amount of paisley. Isn't the statue also lighter in color? The woman statue? Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That could just, I mean, it could just be so that it stands out a little bit when you're looking at it. Like, you notice, you know, it helps. It's a good rule of art design that when you have lots of detail, you want to have clear, defined objects that help things stand out. Because there's so much detail on this one thing here, but your eye is immediately attracted to a couple points, which is less exhausting. If those things weren't there, if the statue wasn't there, if the eagles weren't there, if the spires weren't there, then it would just become kind of noisy. So it may just be that. Oh, good evening, Tazo. Okay, let's see. And then we have this hooded figure here. Definitely a dude. He appears to be bald, although that may just be for no reason. Also cloaked, but is that supposed to be like a? Is that armor? That must be it. Yeah, that's armor, I think. Well, he's got like kind of a tunic. I don't know if that's supposed to be armor plates there. But I think clearly this is more of a classic knight. But very simple. This is not a like medieval era knight. This is earlier. Very simple, almost kind of Roman cuirass? How do you say that word? I've always seen that word in fantasy games, and I've never known how to say it. Cuirass? 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 But yeah, it seems, you know, more like a kind of, I don't know, 600, 700 AD rather than like a 1200. It's wielding the iron greatsword like the misbegotten crusader, which makes me think it could be Radagon, but these same statues are also discarded under Stormvale near Godwyn. I don't know if it is exactly the iron greatsword. The hilt is slightly different. It's the right kind of proportions for it. But it could just be... it could just be, like, generic knight guy. This seems to be the entrance, so to speak, so I wonder, before all of this fell into the sea, Stormvale must have connected all the way over here. There's probably a lot going on there. Okay, any other details to look at? Flowers. I do want to pay attention to the red and blue flowers this time through, so that's something to think about. But here, everything is amber. Nice gold coloration, which fits with the falling leaves. Okay. I think we can get back to it, so... It's a little... It's a little bit... I wonder if I can just turn off something to make it run a little bit faster. Shadow quality. Is that gonna make me reset everything? Oh, this handsome gentleman is Sherlock Bones, but he is designed to look like the Witch King of Angmar. Um, Still a little bit. I wish it was just a little bit smoother. Depth of field, lighting quality, effects, medium, low shaders. Yeah. Oh, it's probably the grass. We'll go to high. That should. Oh, that one I have to reset. I don't want to go to the main menu. Alright, that's fine for now. The Witch King was one of the most handsome men in Lord of the Rings. You mean like literally in the movies? Because I agree. Oh no, it's that. There's too much. There's too much lag. I can't do that. Let's go. Fine. Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick go to the menu and come back. I can live with less quality grass. Do you have higher LOD turned on in the photo mode? No. That's pretty good. That's a bit smoother. It's still not the greatest, but I am going to be mostly looking at things, so yeah, it is the LODs that are screwing it up. Actually, let me make sure that I don't, because where is that? Field of view, image adjustments. No, I do not. Oh. I definitely want high textures. So everything else. No, we do want some nice shadows. We just turn this. I don't want to turn that down too much. That's fine. Volumetric fog, that's not so important. That's okay. I can live with that. Okay, so what do I have here? Glint blade. Got my shield. This is probably not going to go well since I haven't played this game in forever. Already screwing it up. I wish I could just grab these weapons on the ground. That would be sick. God, this music is so bad. Freeze game and inspect the sound. You know, I will do that later, but I don't remember what the freeze game key binding is, so... Now I'm just gonna try and kill him. Zero on the numpad? I don't have a numpad. Well, yeah, that is. I don't want to risk it. I'll look at the one in Stormvale. Come on. Or if I die, I'll look at this one again. Come on. Come on. Oh, crap. That was bad. Ah, I screwed it up. God damn it. Golden horns.
Don't worry, Torrent. Fortune is on his side. We found him here, after all. One of his kind is sure to seek the Elden Ring. Even if it does violate the Golden Order.
Hmm. So where did Melina get Torrent? Are you correct to assume this character will be the Lord of Frenzied Flame? That's a good question. I don't know. This is my detective character. That's why his name is Sherlock Bones. He's investigating death, I guess. In the nature of the world. I don't know if he'll be the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Fia ending, perhaps. Perhaps Fia ending. Perhaps Ronnie ending. I mean, my default is Ronnie ending. I'll probably go through all the quest lines. I'll actually have to plan this out to see if I do everything in order. Gold Mask. No, Gold Mask would fit the least because Gold Mask is an absolutist vision of the world, whereas if you're curious, if you're a detective, then you don't assume that you have all the knowledge. So, in that sense, Ronnie's would make more sense. At least that's my justification. Do the poop ending. I don't think I've actually ever done the poop ending. If Miyazaki were inspired by something good like Roald Dahl instead of Berserk, we'd have a happy ending with Melina after smacking her on the head and just letting us use the flame and then the needle. Yeah. So, here we have someone of noble blood, presumably, since they have a crown. And then there's those two holes. That's part of the profit set, which I will get at some point. So we'll read the description then. We've got a bunch of mushrooms. I suppose I can go back and do. Oh yeah, let me see if pausing the game works. 0? Let me look it up by myself. What pausing the game is? Key bindings. Pause. Where's a pause? Pause. Where's pause? Oh, well, let's use end. That makes sense. End is easy to remember. So let's see if that works then. Oh, why is it doing that now? Okay, so free cam and then pause. Nice. It's got a very long face. We have mushrooms, which is interesting. Oh, it's kind of interesting. There's slightly shaded blue in comparison to the guy. That's a commoner. Yes, but he's wearing a crown, right? As I think they all do. So, just like everyone is of royal blood, because, because the Erd tree is spreading royal blood throughout the lands between, something like that. Okay, anything else to look at here? Very uninteresting cave overall. We've got some more statues here. No hands. But that may not mean anything. And we've got a little tree here growing out of the gravestones. So a lot of coffins, stone coffins wash up here. Hello, Mark. Anything else to look at here? Well, should I go through the tutorial? I mean, might as well. Check out our soldier of God named Rick. More coffins. I suppose it's odd. I don't know if anybody saw I watched Tarnished Archaeologist's video on the Great Flood. It's a really interesting idea. The idea that maybe there was a flood of magma. And part of the evidence for that is the idea that you have these giant stone boats. Which why would you make a boat out of stone? Stone can't float in water, but it could float in magma, maybe. But then if you've got stone coffins that are floating ashore, I mean, I don't know. That seems odd. Seems very odd. What's up? Does this guy actually attack you? Yeah, okay, he does. Let's take a look at this dude. Oh, that's a very sad face. Got a little pendant there. A little bag. I like this like leopard print jacket. It's very stylish, very 70s. One of the best swords in the game. Doesn't seem to be too much interesting to remark upon here, except that he's also clearly, you know, aristocracy, or it's like everyone, all the normal people are aristocracy. That's a very deliberate implication, I think. Oops. Row of fruit. And then we have this guy. Let's take a look at him. The design on the shield. I don't know if there's anything there. It's just an interesting design. He's not in the best of shape. So, what's the deal with the normal enemies? Are they tarnished as well, or are they're just like dead, undead? Actually, the spear is very pretty. Red and gold make such a good combo. Lots of nice little filigree there. Rusted plates. The line in the tree. And that is the same tree insignia that you see on the doors. Well, did I look at the helmet? Yeah, just more sort of vine motifs. Okay. Common British smile, yeah. Dang it, this isn't Dark Souls 1. Oh. Come on. Come on. Why don't you attack me? Dang it. Too slow. It's interesting that he has a money bag, as I think the fact that the currency of the Souls games are souls is kind of overlooked. Well, I don't know if it's a money bag. It could be a bag of food or like row of fruit and all the crap that they drop normally, you know. Man, it's a rough death scream. I really want to parry Soldier of God, but it's been a while since I've played the game, and I'm worried that I might fuck it up, and it would be really embarrassing to die to Rick. Don't be a coward. Crap. Already fucked up. Oh wait, what's my item use? Crap. Alright, let's try this again. Damn it. Let's go. Oh no. Oh no. This is gonna be so embarrassing. There we go. Why doesn't Rick have a cutscene? Rick doesn't need a cutscene. Yeah, true. The toughest enemy in the entire game. Strength. So let's, well, we'll grab the next couple items and then do an inventory check. It's a nice door. I always like that style of wooden door with like the metal, the bolstering. It should have been a 30-minute unskippable cutscene. So clearly Crunchy is a cheater because killing Rick in one hit is impossible. So let's well, let's get out into the sun first. Oh, but we should take a notice of that. Colorless flames here, which is a characteristic of, I think, all the catacombs except some of them have blue flames, which is odd. Designs, okay. Yeah, let's get into some sunlight. Oh, but also interesting to note the smoldering corpses. So that's an odd thing. Still smoldering with red flames. Very similar to the effect on the Erd tree when you burn it. When you properly burn it. Destined death or something. Anything worth looking at here? Looks just more like some random designs. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Wait, so it's just gonna, there's a little bit glitchy. Alright, let's take a look at some of these items. Row of fruit, nothing much to say there, blah blah blah. Tarnished furled finger. So a summon sign. So again, a finger of corpse wax, whirled like a hook. So again, the idea of dead fingers writing messages of light, which transcend the boundaries between worlds. And there's an, I don't know if that ring is meant to be maybe two snakes, or if that's just... Actually... So those little heads on the two ends of the ring do have what looks like a star. Maybe if I, let's see. Oh, first we're gonna do this. But let's try this. Maybe I can see it in game. So if I do Oh, I can't do it here. Oh, because I'm not online. Damn it. Right. Okay. Well, never mind then. But it does seem like they have... maybe this design. That, like, little star thingy. Right there. X marks the spot. Okay, we have the small golden effigy, so that's a martyr. Effigy of the martyr. It's a guilty person on a crucifix. And this allows you to... This does the same thing as the finger, as the dead finger. That's kind of an interesting idea. So if a dead finger can write messages that transcend the boundaries between worlds, and some of those messages can bring you forward into that world as a phantom, then why would a symbol of a guilty person on a crucifix do the same thing? Why would it have the same ability? Let's see, finger severer. That's an odd looking item. It's a phantom blade, so the blade itself is made of light. Even the handle is odd. It's an odd shape. It's not like it doesn't look like a dagger. You know, it looks like a talon of some creature. Maybe a dragon or a bird. You know, it doesn't look like it's a weapon that has been forged. Looks like a bone. Yeah. Something like that. I mean, it's got those little filigree rings on it, but that seems more like maybe an addition. So that's interesting. What else here? We've got the flasks. A sacred flask modeled after a golden holy chalice that was once graced by a tear of blessing. Okay. But I don't know why I never noticed that. I guess this is the sacred tears that you pick up, that this is modeled after those. And of course we get all this imagery of all the grace stuff has all this arboreal, you know, tree root stuff going on. Even the sites of grace themselves, we can take a look at. You know, there's like a little pile of roots and wood. It has this watery effect. Shimmery, watery effect. You know, that looks a little bit like it's the same sort of effect. This is a deep cut, but as the Dark Hand, when you use the Dark Hand as a shield in Dark Souls 1. This always bugged me how in Dark Souls 3, they just made it like a red, it was just like a red texture, and it didn't have this distortion, because the distortion looks so cool in Dark Souls 1. And then in Dark Souls 3, they didn't bring it back. I don't know, are there Dark Hands in Dark Souls 2? I don't know if they did the same thing. Anyway, There we've got our martyr, so... Obviously, Jesus imagery. Circlet of thorns, although it's worn around the neck instead of as a crown. This guy's also smoldering. And many of these guys have items at their bases. Yeah, and they're clearly still alive is the thing. Right. Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Fish, because they scream at night. So they're clearly in pain and they're still alive. So it's something, this internal fire, some conflict of them being dead and not dead. They're in great pain but still alive. And they're being hoisted up, presumably, I think, to produce, because you often find rune items at the base. So I think the idea is that sort of they're receiving some kind of blessing and they're maybe producing the runes somehow. So let's talk to Vare.
Oh, yes. Tarnished, are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring, hmm? Of course you have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Without guidance, without the strength of runes, and without an invitation to the Round Table Hold, you are fated, it seems, to die in obscurity. Luckily for you, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the maidenless. Me, Vare. Take care to listen. Are you familiar with grace? The golden light that gives life to you, Tarnished. You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, a path that a Tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers. It will lead you, Tarnished, to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave. Grace's guidance will reveal the path forward, most certainly, to Castle Stormvale, over on the cliff, the home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted. It's time you set off, I should think, to Castle Stormvale on the cliff, where Grace would guide you, if you seek the Elden Ring, maidenless as you are.
I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I feel like the way he talks sounds a little bit like a grandma. Which kind of makes sense if he's got this, like, sort of, you know, nurse vibe. I don't know, there's something very, like, Little Red Riding Hood about it. Oh, yeah, you just said it. Give me your best creepy grandma. Yeah, seriously. Okay, I'm not crazy then.
It's time you set off, I should think, to Castle Stormvale on the cliff, where Grace would guide you, if you seek the Elden Ring, maidenless as you are.
Okay, I will do that then. Let's just take a look at you. I was hoping to see if I could get his mask off by... Oh god, that's terrifying. He's got a little satchel here. Some little bags and satchels, as you would. Ah, got a little dagger. Also, his cape is glitching out, but that's okay. Nasty little dagger, so that kind of gives you a little impression. You don't see it on his front. He keeps it behind him, hiding it with his scarf. That gives you an idea of what he's really about. And, I mean, also all the bloodstains. I suppose that gives you an idea, too. Does he have 2 belts on? Dude, why are you wearing 2 belts? It's a lot of belts. Oh, I see. Two belts for the dagger. That's a neat little detail, actually. This dude went to the trouble of giving himself 2 belts just so he could carry this dagger, even though he doesn't have a sheath for it. I like that. I think also it's kind of interesting because this face is reminiscent of like the hooded, the cloaked women that we just saw in the Chapel of Anticipation. It's like a friendly, kind face, which kind of suggests that, like, battlefield medics, it's like this angelic figure comes to heal you, reminiscent of this whole religion of like lovely young maidens blessing you with dew or sap or whatever. So it's meant to convey that, I think. Okay. Onward we go. The surgeons almost remind me of the perfumers. Interesting. I did not make that connection. Here we have white flowers. We had purple flowers in Chapel of Anticipation. There's some more purple ones. I just want to keep an eye out for the red and blue ones. Because I know there are a few places where, like, the red ones, or rather the blue ones appear around, like, the rises, which would make sense with this blue equals magic and stars and stuff. Oh, we better take a look at this ruin. So we've got some kind of urn with like a flower, a tree thingy coming out of it, similar to what we saw before, with this symbolism of like a basin with life erupting out of it. That's the cornucopia idea, so probably crucible or crucible adjacent. Yeah, that's the main thing I think here. And why not take a look at this one? Anything interesting here? Same idea. Maybe if we get a better look at it. Yeah, so the sort of flowering tree of life coming out of this basin. That's the basic idea there. Okay. I guess let's go talk to Kale. Odd that there should be a blacksmith's anvil here. And that is the same hammer that Hugh uses. I know that Hugh was originally going to be in the world and not in Round Table. I don't think it was here necessarily, but... So this may just be a relic of that, but... Kind of interesting. I wonder why someone would be because, you know, this is a church, so at some point it was used as a church, and then later someone used it as, you know, to do some blacksmithing, and presumably that's not Kale. I don't think he's really a blacksmith, so, and the anvil has long since rusted, so it's gone through sort of 3 occupations. Well, let's take a look at these characters. That's very good donkey fur texture, I have to say. Dog. Yeah, what am I saying anyway? Keeping everything hidden here. It's just got a big basin. All his supplies, presumably. It's interesting that this church has no statue of America or Radigan or America. Smithing was once considered divine, and in the DLC there is clearly some smithing culture that's been replaced. I doubt that the anvil is part of the original function of the church. I suppose there's no real way to tell, but given, for example, that it's just sitting on dirt, I would assume that this church had a floor at some point, long time ago. And that's just decayed, and the anvil is a later addition. Let's take a look at this guy. So, got this odd sort of shamisen looking instrument. Very interesting, weird instrument. I like that it's got this pole to support it, because that would get tiring to hold. Just balanced against his leg. And a weird bow with a hand on the end. 5-fingered hand. He's got gems on his cuffs, so he's wealthy. He's not a poor traveling merchant. He's very wealthy. He's got a bunch of belts as well, too. I think those are meant to be gems, although they're very low res. He's got this sort of almost straw-covered cape. Well, maybe that's supposed to be hairs, but it's just yellow eyes. Yeah, lots of gems everywhere. Lots of gems and lots of different feathers, so maybe a bit vain as well. He's trying to look stylish. It's not, you know, he's not keeping too innocuous. He's wearing bright colors, red. Covering himself with gems. Yeah, and chainmail underneath. Well, and I suppose you would. It's a dangerous world out there, you know. But he is making himself a target. Well, except what use does anybody have for gems? So I suppose maybe he's not. Maybe it's just for style. Okay, let's talk to him.
You're a tarnished. I can see it. And I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods. You know, if you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting kit. A crafting kit allows you to make basic items on your own. Essential, really, if you intend to survive out here for any duration. The kit costs a bundle.
Gems like that are found in the royal scaly armor and
my
also
cut.
the man serpent
But the
weaponry.
important thing is that you survive.
Yeah. That's
Every customer
interesting.
counts.
That's true.
After all.
Ensha and all the Gelmir stuff, they are also sort of gaudy with all the gems and things like that.
I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted by madness since the shattering of the Elden Ring. It's only tarnished like yourself, who keep things from drying up entirely. Let's say you're a very welcome customer.
Yeah, who are you even selling to, besides me? The merchants must be pretty old, I would think, since society is in such a sad state now. Alright, we need the telescope for sure. That's the main thing. But I can also... Oh, let's just read these. Stone used to smith a variety of armaments. Shard found in plenty. Smithing stone is found throughout the lands between, and mining galleries built to excavate it can be found everywhere. Which is interesting, because it's clearly got some gold in there. So you have to mine to get smithing stone. I think that will be relevant. Ruin fragment. Shards of stone were once part of a temple in the sky, and they glow with a faint light from within. And then we got some bones. It's always good. So let's sell this so that we can buy some of this stuff. What do we need? An arrow, glowstone, holy water pot. Let's grab a torch. Why not? Don't really need the pots right now. We'll just hold on to the runes, use them to level up.
I'm glad you took my warning to heart.
Telescope
You
plus
made an
glowstones.
excellent-
That's true, actually. Maybe the glowstones. That's probably
What
worth
is it?
getting. Where was that? This one.
Goodbye.
So let's check out these. Nothing that interesting here. Pickled meats. Roa raisin. Humans are unable to digest Roa fruit, but Torrent seems to have a taste for it. And rainbow stone. Stones such as these shine with the colors of the rainbow, making them useful markers when placed on the ground, blah blah blah. Once used to entertain children on the fringes of the lands between. So... why do the ruin fragments glow? Is it just because they're from the sky? Is it just a simple thing? Or is there something else going on? And then the fact that you can, like, what is it, refract that light somehow? That inner light, turn it into a bunch of different colors. There isn't a lot of multicolor sort of rainbow stuff, but you do have Morgoth's sword. Trying to think of what else. I feel like there was something in the DLC. What was... is there something rainbow in the DLC? I'm not remembering. But rainbow is kind of a I would say from for example, with all the alchemical imagery, you know, when you see like bird imagery, so very common alchemical and occult symbols, different types of birds. Eagle, crow is probably the most common. Eagle probably second most. But you do the lesser ones that you do often see are pelican and swan, which you don't really get any of that in this, and peacock. And peacock is kind of an interesting one. You know, that's associated with the rainbow. The rainbow is kind of a it symbolizes a lot of different things, but you know, the division of the self, the splitting apart of something into multiple parts, sort of achieving some kind of spiritual awakening. There's also kind of a negative connotation, which you see in Lord of the Rings, for example, when Saruman becomes corrupted. They don't do this in the movies, but in the books, when he becomes corrupted, he stops being Saruman the White. He becomes Saruman the Multicolored. His robe is a dazzling array of colors, and it's that kind of association of like there's something sort of shallow about it, like it's something that has the appearance of great power, but is shallow. Anyway, I don't know if any of that's relevant, but that's where my mind went. So let us go here. Imagine being one of the most beautiful birds in the world and proof of God's design and a symbol of love and royalty across cultures, and then some guy names you Peacock. Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, the peacock, it's a bunch of eyes, right? So it represents that sense of vision, awareness. I think the Greek myth was that Hera had some bodyguard that was covered in eyes. He had like 1,000,000 eyes, and then I want to say Hermes stole them all, put them on a bird, something like that. It was part of a larger story. I don't remember the details. Lord Sworn's bolts. So we're just going to beeline for Melina first, I think. Wouldn't Rainbow kind of represent the one great? Or the Crucible from Elden Ring's lens? Well, it depends on where you put the focus, because the idea with the rainbow is that it is actually the division of something, right? You're taking the initial pure sort of light, and then you're refracting it into a bunch of different colors. Yeah. Be a guy with 100 eyes. They all get stolen. Yeah, I think he was a watchman of some. He was like a guard of some kind. I think Hermes had to steal something, and then he tricked him by like making him fall asleep somehow, and then he stole all his eyes. Something like that. Or maybe Hera put the eyes on the peacock. I don't remember. All right, here we go. Melina.
Greetings, traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. offer you an accord. Have you heard of the Finger Maidens? They serve the Two Fingers, offering guidance and aid to the tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are maidenless.
Yeah, I think Melina only appears at night. Or rather,
I can
it
play the
changes it
role
to
of
night if it's
maiden.
not.
Turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree.
The Erd Tree has feet?
Then it's settled. Summon me by grace to turn runes into strength. Ah, another matter. I bequeath to you this ring. Use it to traverse great distances. It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent. Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
It is a very interesting... Because I think that's a hand. Or no, that's not a hand. Oh, I thought it was like a... The way that there, it kind of looks like that's a... Like a hand with 4 fingers and a thumb on the bottom, but I guess it's not. That's just the way it's composed. But... There's a little pointy bit there. That's kind of odd. 4 rings. I can't imagine that that is unintentional. I mean, she is such a important character that, you know, and that's like the only significant thing that she's wearing. I feel like that's got to have some... There's got to be some meaning to it. I mean, I guess it's a ring, in a sense. An uncompleted ring. 4 rings. There are 4 rings in the Elden Ring. So 3 claws. And looks like, well, I get, yeah, it looks like either a beast or could be a beast, could be a bird. I'd say probably I lean towards bird because of the foul feet thing, which I guess we'll find. And then she's got pale gold eyes. And she has dialogue here.
Shall I turn your runes to strength? Let my hand rest upon you. For but a moment, share them with me. Your thoughts, your ambitions, the principles you would follow.
Well, I am Sherlock Bones, so the principles I would follow have to do with my mind, my intelligence, and discovering secrets. Oh, I don't have any more. Okay, that's fine. Alright, take care, Cecilia. Arcane? I mean, Arcane basically is just secrets. I know back when Rubito was in the server, RIP, he floated the theory about about arcane relating to sort of flow, which kind of makes sense if you think about all the blood stuff and the bubble sorceries. What else is arcane? It was a pretty good idea, but I sort of lean now towards it um, uh, just being hidden things. It's just hidden things. Maybe that can connect more specifically to things hidden within oneself, like hidden internal powers. But more broadly, it's just like secrets, things that aren't understood. Arcane seems to relate to pre-Elden Ring power structure almost, or me. Well, I think it may just um, by way of the fact that things previous to the Golden Order are not well understood, that they're secret and hidden. So there may be other things that are also not well understood. I mean, like the Albinarics, for example, they cast sorcery with their innate arcaneness. That's not really, that's a current thing, or it's more recent at least. But I think it's just it isn't well understood. And then I think like don't the well, the Bale incantations, actually, that kind of makes sense. All the dragon stuff, that's arcane. The dragon communion stuff, that is, rather. It's like, this primeval weird power. In any case, I also want to level up arcane because then I'll have higher item discovery, so I'll have more things drop. Lord Sworn's Great Sword. I think it has to do with how blights relate to outer gods and how many of the blights are strengthened by arcane. I forget. Dragon Communion is also a blight upon you as you lose yourself. I would say, maybe there's something there, but it's also, like, what are the null cases? Are there blights that are not related to arcane? Or outer gods that are not related to arcane, like Flame of Frenzy, for example, I think would fit that description, but that doesn't involve arcane. I mean, I think if you look at like faith, intelligence, and arcane, what was the thing about there are many paths to truth, right? That was one of the descriptions. So if you think about intelligence, is you are discovering things about the objective world, you're categorizing them, you're using your mind to understand the world. Faith is a way of understanding the world through belief and sort of imposing a certain worldview upon the world, and then arcane is sort of it's what's not covered by those. It's just things that are not understood. So like, didn't Donald Rumsfeld say that thing about known knowns and unknown knowns? It's like that. The arcane is the unknown knowns. Unknown unknowns. Ooh, nice. Some good greaves. So I think actually I'm gonna leave it here for now. for two main reasons. One is that I need to eat something, and two, I'm actually going to have to plan out my path to make sure that I get all of the right NPC stuff, you know, all of that, because you can so easily lock yourself out of certain things. So, because I'm going to want to do everything possible. So, I'm actually going to have to make a plan for all of that before next time. But for now, I think that's a good little start. I suppose we can finish by just looking at these new items and see what they say. Dusky yellow flower. Oh, hey, it's the color of the Glum-Eyed Queen. Started to fade to brown. Smoldering butterfly. Kindling. There's no real flavor there. Runes are nourishment for the development of any tarnished. Nothing really there. Delicate goldwork ring. Just a finger whistle. Oh, might as well go see Ronnie real quick. That's a good idea, actually. That would be a good thing to end on, because then that is a... Yeah, then I won't forget that. Now let's just see if there was anything else here. John's excited, of course. Telescope. Stolen part of a larger instrument. During the age of the Erd Tree, carrion astrology withered on the vine. The fate once written in the night skies had been fettered by the Golden Order. Which really, the more I think about it, just means that the Golden Order changed fate. I don't know, I think that may just all be flowery language to say the Golden Order changed what was supposed to happen, and therefore, like, the astrology became useless, or maybe not even useless, but just less powerful because there was they changed things. Okay, so let's go speak to Ronnie.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
Yes, you may. There's Kale. Nice sleep. And, oh, there's the moon. Of course. Did I put my telescope? Let's put this telescope right here. So I can do that. What? Oh, right. It's this. There's the moon. Possibly with a rune on it. Very weird moon. Alright. Hello, Ronnie. Let's take a look at you. So, very icy blue eyes. Maybe a little bit of touch of green in there. A little teal. And the spirit is like a mirror. It's a mirror image, right? Because the open eye is on the right instead of the left. That's kind of interesting. And the sort of binding point, I don't even know if that's really a seal or anything. It may just be like the effect of the spirit overlapping with her. It doesn't really look like an actual symbol to me. And it's also animated. It's not like the tattoo of Melina. Cool little effect there. It's almost like falling snow or something. So a lot of frost imagery. No, the DLC made the moon even more confusing. Or the moons. Yeah, that's odd. She doesn't have any effect there, no. And then she's got wolfskin cloak. What is this, snowflake pattern? So that's 6 points, not 8. Very prim and proper. It's very sort of elvish looking filigree on the top of the hat here. I like that. Kind of like roots like roots in winter aren't, there's no leaves. So it's similar to the kind of the root designs, the root and vine designs that you see everywhere, but it's like these are dead roots. Okay, let's talk to you.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished. I am the witch Renna. I'd heard tell of a Tarnished hurtling about atop a spectral steed, and upon looking into the matter, the talk I surmise is of thee. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent. Trifle not with me, Tarnished. Or didst thou merely forget the name of the spectral steed thou callest?
Oh, his name's Torrent.
I will ask
sorry,
thee
yeah, okay.
again. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent. Quite the stubborn one, aren't we? Wise in a way. The lands between are home to lies and cheats aplenty. Perhaps thine ample mistrust will be to thy benefit. I shall leave this for thee, at the behest of Torrent's former master. Take it, shouldst thou overcome thy suspicion.
So both Ronnie and Melina are presumably sort of under orders from Mikola. Or at least, maybe not under orders, that maybe implies too strong of a connection, but they're at least, to some extent, because Melina, you know, we see Mikola on Torrent in the Land of Shadow, and Miyazaki confirmed that that was Mikola and Torrent, and we know that Mikola has not left there. So how did Torrent get here? Well, with Melina riding him, which means that Melina must have been in the Land of Shadow, and she must have gotten him at least indirectly from Mikola. And then Ronnie was told to give you this spirit calling bell and these 3 wolves by Mikola. So that's interesting. And this is clearly Mikola's bell, because it's got the Trina sort of design, that lily at the top, or something like it. And the caduceus, and the lilac color. Which then kind of, I wonder with the 3 wolves, whether the statue in Faramazula is actually Mikola. If these were his, if he had these wolves Is it possible Mikola was in the Land of Shadow before it was veiled, though? Well, it would have had to have been after Marika shattered the Elden Ring, because it was through this whole Moog situation that he got there, right? Which means I don't know when the Land of Shadow was veiled. Mesmer knew Radon, so that would have been after after the after the marriage of Radagon and Renala. I'm not remembering enough pertinent facts to think about that. But at least, I mean, the image of Mikola riding Torrent that has the Shadow Tree there, which... I mean, I can't imagine the Shadow Tree existed before the Land of Shadow was separated from the Lands Between. Because... What, were there just... There was an Erd Tree and a Shadow Tree just, like, next to each other? That sort of doesn't track. I feel like the Shadow Tree must exist as a result of the Land of Shadow being expelled from the Lands Between. So I think that must be after, that picture must be after the land was veiled. Which means that Melina was in the Land of Shadow and she traveled here on Torrent. Anyway, I have to go eat some food. So I'm going to leave it here. Next time, I'll have a plan for how I'm going to go through the game, in what order and all that stuff. And maybe I'll come up with some questions. I suppose I should just finish up by writing some of these questions down. What were they? Mikola commanding Ronnie and Melina? It's not really a question, it's just something to investigate. And I'll also put in my observation of Ronnie's spirit base is a mirror image. Also the prisoner mask eye closed thing. Anything else? Any other big questions? No, I think I'll leave it there. My brain's too fried to think about anything else anyway. Okay, thank you all for coming along, and I will stream again soon. Alright, that is it for me.